more local stuff, right? One of the bigger court cases that's been like taking over the mainstream media, the social media, is the Top5 case.
Yeah.
Okay. He was originally charged, and RIP and condolences to the family of the gentleman who was deceased. But he was charged with accessory after the fact.
Okay.
Okay. After that, his charges were upped to murder one, and there was the whole thing about him on the run and all that type of stuff that was all over the media.
Yeah.
Okay. He was finally detained in Los Angeles a few months ago, and they brought him, extradited him over here to Toronto. Maybe about 2-3 months ago, tops. Okay.
Yeah.
Since that time, his former co-defendant has been released. With that being said, with everything that I've just brought to you now from just me explaining that, what do you think the chances of him beating that case?
I would honestly have to know more details of the evidence against him to answer that effectively. I'm kind of shocked as to how it can go from accessory to murder to first degree. That's a huge jump, because for first degree, it has to be premeditated, thought out, and acted on.
Right.
I don't know if this charge being upped was a way of getting him extradited from the States, because maybe on certain level charges.
No. Just to give you some more context, it was accessory to murder after the fact, and then upped to murder, and then that's when the whole on the run thing happened.
Okay.
Right, so it wasn't in between. It was up to that, and then that happened. Okay. And then after they caught him a few months later, brought him back here. But like I said, since that time, you know, and part of the reason what I've seen from the media, they said that they believe that he was in the vehicle and all that different stuff, right?
Yeah.
But now that his co-defendant or former co-defendant has been released, it seems like the case might be taking a turn.
It might be, and I'm just looking here, and it's saying that they don't suspect him of being the shooter.
Right.
So
this has been in the media. They've said this from a long time ago.
So I really don't understand how you can have a first-degree murder charge if you're not the shooter. There's something called party to an offense, whereby if you know an offense is going to happen, and you're aware, and if you're aware and you're kind of part of the ongoings that surround it, then you're a party to that offense. So that could possibly be the way they're bringing him into this.
Right.
I can't see that it seems too shaky, but again, I have to just be honest. I need to see the information in order to provide a proper opinion on it. So I can't really say it's now for the charges to be stayed.
Because that's what happened with his former co-defendant. Like, his charges were stayed.
Yeah. So usually when charges are stayed, there's a problem with the investigation.
Okay.
Somebody went wrong on the other side. Somebody did something they shouldn't have done.
And the other side being the cops, the legal side.
The cops and the prosecutors.
Yeah.
Usually they stay charges when there's an error on their side.
Interesting.
If the co-accused was completely innocent, they would have withdrawn the charges. But sometimes crowns, I'll say this, sometimes crowns know they're innocent and they still stay them for some reason. I don't agree with that. Something has to change in the system, but they have that power right now. But it really feels like something must have gone wrong. I don't want to speculate beyond that, because speculating can cause some more problems if I say what other things could have happened, right? But let's leave it at that. Something must have gone wrong in order for them to stay. And I'm not sure. I think that's enough, because a lot of us don't know what a stayed charge even means in the first place.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to literally look it up and be like, okay, you can get the Google explanation, but like that still doesn't really bring enough clarity.
So me and my boy Guttz, another legal professional.
Salute to Guttz. That's Six Views Uncut alumni. He was sitting on the couch over here.
No, that guy, he's like propelling through the system. He's a professor, good colleague of mine. He ran my mayoral campaign, so shout out to Guttz. But what was I gonna say now? Getting sidetracked. Stay. I can explain what to say, because we had this conversation. People don't understand the system. They think the judge and the crowns are against you. What we have to realize is the judge evaluates the evidence presented by defense and presented by the Crown. The Crown, on behalf of the Queen, lays charges on people. Judges don't charge people. Crowns lay charges. Defense attorneys will fight those charges. So the Crown will present their evidence and the defense will present their evidence. And the judge evaluates. So now, anytime a charge is brought, the Crown has the ability to withdraw the charge if they want at any time. They can withdraw it, or they can stay it, or they can offer you plea deals. They have full control over what happens.
Right.
The judge can't control what happens. The judge can't say withdraw that charge. The judge can't say stay that charge. Judge can't do anything but evaluate the evidence. Once we put the evidence in front at a trial, that's when the judge has the power to say, this is an acquittal, this is a conviction. Those are the options, right? Now, I've had a case where a man house was raided, no criminal record. He was beaten by police, task force, bloodied up his eye, ripped it. He had to have surgery. Damn. He lost his job. He went homeless. I was like, withdraw these charges. You beat up an innocent man. You didn't find anything. The cops were off, like they were doing the wrong thing. He wouldn't. He's like, oh, I'll do a peace bond. I'm like, no, I'm not doing a peace bond.
A peace bond?
Yeah. He wanted to offer some nonsense, and I was like, no, this has to be a withdrawal. So we did the whole trial. Did the trial, had the cops on the stand, showing how their stories didn't match up, to the point where the judge stopped and said to the Crown, you need to figure out what's happening here, because your officers don't even know who's complaining. Because basically the officer said assault police.
Yeah.
And one officer was on the stand, and he was the one who in the paperwork says he was assaulted. And he's saying, well, yeah, she was assaulted. And then she was saying, no, he was. Like, they didn't even know.
They didn't get their story straight before?
They didn't get their story straight.
Wow.
So the judge was like, yo, take a break and figure this out, because he was getting annoyed. And I was too, right? So the Crown, instead of withdrawing the charge, stayed the charges.
Interesting.
So he just stopped the prosecution. And basically a stay means the charges remain on the books for a year. And if the Crown doesn't revive them within a year, then they're gone.
Oh.
Right? So an example of a proper stay would be, you know, I've charged somebody, we've charged somebody. The witnesses are sick or they've gone missing. Okay, I'm staying the charges for a year, because it's a year. But then 9 months later, the witness pops up. They have the ability to revive the charge.
Yeah.
So that's what a stay is. The stay is a pausing of the charge, usually without being revived, but there's an ability to revive it if there's an opportunity to after.
Okay. Somebody's asking here, Catch22 wants to know, would you need a pardon from a stay? Like, would a stay on your record?
And that's the argument that I want to get into, because judges should have an ability to decide if a charge gets stayed or withdrawn. And what my proposition is going to be, and if I ever get it, well, when I get the chance to submit it, it's going to be that if a Crown wants to put a stay forward, the defense attorney should have an ability to apply to rebut the stay, to say no, the stay is not sufficient.
Yeah.
And that should be argued in front of a judge.
Withdraw it rather than stay it.
Right. And I know I said to the judge at that case, I'm like, Your Honor, a stay is going to hang over my client's head. He needs
for 1 year.
Yes. I said, he needs a withdrawal. It's not right. He's like, even if I agree with you, I don't have the power to do anything. It's the Crown's authority. So something has to change in the legal system where if a Crown wants to stay and the defense feels a stay is not an appropriate remedy, there should be an application where they can argue it, the merits why the stay versus the withdrawal, and the judge should be able to decide.
Interesting.
So the question was, again, if you need a stay for a pardon, and that's why I'm saying stays are not always good, because a stay could affect that person's pardon because it's not a withdrawal. So the judge doesn't know, was it police abuse that made the charges get stayed? Was it some error that made it get stayed? Or was the person actually innocent why it got stayed?
Yeah.
In my case,
the judge doesn't get that information. Or like, does the prosecutor or the Crown have to tell the judge, this is why I'm staying the charges?
No, they don't have to say why. But I'm saying...
That's crazy.
But I'm saying the evaluating, the pardon people or whoever, criminal record check, whoever's going to decide if you're worthy of accepting them, they might see the stay and say, no, I'm denying you your pardon. I'm denying you the job because you have a stay. That's why it's important that the stays should not always only be the last option. Because if you had a withdrawal, then there'd be nothing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Your pardon would say, oh, okay, withdrawn. Okay. That means it's not a valid thing. So I don't know the answer to that question, if a stay will affect your pardon, but I do know if it's indictable, you got to be clean for 10 years before you can qualify. And if it's summary, clean for 5 years before you can qualify.
Yeah. And now it's not even a pardon. Now it's a record suspension, right?
Yes. And that was Harper. And that's why people need to vote, because when you let other people get in power, they change things and make decisions that affect your life. And the fact that they change it from a pardon to a record suspension psychologically changes how people look at it. Yeah. Because when you say a pardon, you're like, okay, you're forgiven. It's done. But when you say record suspension, it's just like, oh, what is that?
This means it's still there, but we're just covering it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why whoever's in government, it's important we know who we're choosing to be in government, because they decide on how the rest of our lives unfold. Yeah.